Welcome everybody to Donington Park and the second race of the weekend for the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge around the full Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. This their second race of the weekend because their first took place yesterday afternoon and was an absolute barnstormer, as they often tend to be in what is a very competitive championship. And a race victory for Scott McKenna means that he has closed the gap now to the championship leader Jerry Nicosia. More on that in a minute. For the time being though, time to introduce the team. My name is Andy McEwen, up here in the box, delighted to be joined for our two Ginetta GT5 Challenge races today by Joe Osborne. Now Joe, you know a thing or two about Ginettas and you know just how exciting these races can be.
Yeah, exactly. Standard one-make championship, not a lot of power, which really lends itself to the slipstream, hard to brake. And so it's all down to the driver really, and that's what lends itself to brilliant racing. The cars are super even as well, so even though they're run by different teams, Ginetta do a really good job at making sure that those teams keep within the rules and don't start stretching the boundaries of what's legal and what isn't. So much so I know they've got their own mobile dyno, so they'll strap a car on and make sure it's on the right power and torque. So yeah, we never see someone running away with the championship, and the championship points definitely look like that as well. Yeah,
13 points in it now by our very rough calculations between Jerry Nicosia, who is still the points leader. Only once a winner this year though, Jerry Nicosia. Scott McKenna has won the last 3 races. He did the double at Silverstone and won yesterday, but only by 3.5 tenths over Nicosia. And Conor Grady, who was 5th in the championship, finished 3rd, so he too has closed the gap up. We've just seen the grid scrolling through at the bottom of your screen, the grid that is based on the second fastest laps from qualifying. So Jerry Nicosia has the chance now to maybe take some points back. He's on pole position with Gordy Much, who won the season opener back at Alton Park alongside him. Adam Smalley could do with the points as well. He's 3rd on the grid with Josh Malin 4th. Danny Harrison, one of the standout stars at Silverstone, got his first podium finish of the year in the second race at Silverstone. He lines up 5th. Then Conor Grady, Scott McKenna down in 7th, ahead of Ruben Delsart, Gus Bowers and Ryan Firth. It's a big old grid though, 32 of these identical Ginetta G40s about to do battle for 15 minutes around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. And which way is this championship tail going to twist? We've had 3 victories now for McKenna and Smalley. Nicosia, though, has only been off the podium once, and that was last time out at Silverstone. Got back into 2nd place yesterday, though, and we'll be looking now to try and get back up there again. So the red lights go on. We're about to go racing then at Donington Park. Away we go for 15 minutes of Ginetta GT5 Challenge racing. Everyone off the line nice and cleanly, and it's Nicosia who will have the lead towards Redgate Corner. Gordy Much slots in line in 2nd position. Adam Smalley is the yellow and black car trying to go 3rd, and diving around the outside there was Josh Malin, I think that is, into 3rd position. Do they all get safely through Redgate Corner? Looks as though they will. 1 or 2 running wide onto the grass further back, but it is Nicosia, Joe, who has the lead down the Craner curves.
Yeah, perfect start from him, so much so you could just take the racing line and try and get away, as we see a spinner on the exit, so it looks like he'll be able to rejoin and be absolutely fine. But yeah, actually I thought he was going to have a slightly bigger gap, because he needs to try and work as hard as he can now to break McKenna. I think might be up to 6th after that first corner, although actually no, I think he might even be further down, might be 8th now. So yeah, it's all going to be tight, and as we see someone go for the outside.
Yeah, Josh Malin that was, trying to go around the outside of Jerry Nicosia, the race leader. Did it work? No, it didn't, and in fact it leaves him vulnerable to attack from Gordy Much behind. There's a screech of tyres. Someone I fear is going to be depositing themselves in the Coppice gravel trap as a result. We'll pick up on that in a moment or two. But Josh Malin there went for a move for the lead, didn't necessarily work. And Joe, this is such a momentum circuit that if you're in a big queue of cars like this, you really have to think your moves through, because if it doesn't work, you could lose ground.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it feels like you're kind of putting your head up above the parapet in the trench. You kind of want to get going and get forward, but they put your head up, you get shot. And that kind of what happened. But I think you're just seeing how big the slipstream effect is here. As soon as you try and break the air for the first bunch of cars, you're just losing that much momentum that the guy behind just catches you up. As we see another attempt from the outside. This is a long way round here. If he tries that, then I fear he'll be on the grass on the exit. He thinks better of it. But as you see, as soon as there's a gap there, someone fills it with the front of their car, and again, that's how you lose the momentum, and off we go. And as we go across the line for the first time, it looks like they're kind of, what, 15 cars all within at least 2 lengths of each other, which is brilliant.
And Gordy Much, who thought his luck was in then, he was up the inside of Malin at Goddard's, ended up, because he was on the tight line, losing momentum and losing 3rd place to Adam Smalley. That's how quickly your fortunes can change, and that is why we love Ginetta GT5 Challenge racing, particularly around a circuit like this one. So note to self, the race leader then, Nicosia is in the lead, Malin 2nd, Smalley 3rd, Much is 4th, Delsart is 5th, McKenna, you're right, was only 8th, so actually lost a position from where he started. So yesterday's race winner, not looking likely, it would seem, to get his 4th win on the bounce. Up the hill they go then through the left-hand Kincard-Schwanz curve. McLean's is a possible overtaking opportunity. I would imagine you don't do a huge amount of braking for that corner though in these cars. It's all about carrying the momentum through the turn, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not a big brake zone, but what you are doing is you're hard keeping the car to the left, whereas obviously the corner goes right. So you can kind of do a bit of a hit and hope overtake there. You just throw the car down the inside and hope the car in front sees you and can't turn in. It's not very clean and it feels a bit dirty, but there's definitely just about enough where it becomes legal. I think what we're seeing from Mailing is he's got probably the quickest car out there. I think he did the fastest lap of the race yesterday, and it looks like he's maybe a bit bottled up. But it's kind of like musical chairs at the moment. If you kind of keep going and going, the music stops and you're not at the front, then you obviously don't win. So at the moment, the music's still going for a fair amount. There's enough chairs. So I don't think he wants to rush to the front is kind of what I'm getting here. He's putting pressure on, but he's not willing to kind of commit and be the guy when the music stops just yet.
Yes, I think we followed that analogy just about. We got there in the end. I know exactly what you mean, though. This gets, very busy indeed. McKenna, that was indeed getting involved up the inside of Conor Grady. That was all triggered by Ruben Del Sart having a moment at the Melbourne hairpin. And again, it stacks the whole field up, doesn't it? So McKenna gained a position out of that. He's back where he started now, but he's having to get his elbows out. It's not easy to overtake because everyone's going at the same speed. The cars are identical, and yeah, you can use the slipstream, but it's very easy for it all to go horribly wrong with a contact nearly out of Redgate corner. Now, top 3 escaping: Nicosia, Malin and Smalley. These were not our podium finishes yesterday because Josh Malin only managed a 4th place finish in yesterday's race. He arrived here at Donington Park down in 8th place in the points as well. So this would be a really good result for him. Now, this is a replay of what happened at the Melbourne hairpin, Joe. A big moment this for Del Sart. Yeah, for a short wheelbase car, that is an amazing save. I've done a bit of driver coaching on these and I had to give up because I couldn't go as quick as some of my students. So they're a very quirky car to drive, and he's done really, really well. And as you said, that's then concertinaed everyone up and given McKenna his chance to work up there. And McKenna obviously needs to get his head down now and try and get to this leading top 6 from a championship perspective, because it couldn't be much worse for him with Nicosia leading the championship and leading the race. He's going to be feeling the pressure, I think, and I think we're probably going to see some more rash/optimistic overtaking stuff from him later in the race.
Now he's going to catch them first, but he'll be glad to see that for, I think, the 4th time in a row, the race leader, Jerry Nicosia, is having to defend the inside at the Melbourne hairpin. Well, this is the 3rd lap of the race, excuse me, because Josh Malin seems to get that good exit from the chicane, doesn't he? Gets in the toe down the hill, but as long as he's only being shown the outside line at the Melbourne hairpin, there does not appear to be a way through. Daniel Harrison there, the black and red car on the inside with a bit of front-end damage. He has Ruben Del Sart trying to fight back now, having got past the orange 55 car a lap or so ago. So across the start-finish line we go again. Then we've once again, I think, got 8 cars for the lead because McKenna and Grady have towed back up to the back of this queue. But McKenna does have to try and get on with this now. There's a sense of urgency there for the white and blue number 27 machine, second in the points, and as I said, had that 13-point deficit coming into the race to the man that is out in front. Now for Nicosia, Joe, it looks like he's having it fairly easy here. He's not having to overtake anybody, he's defending where he needs to. How hard is it though to keep a car behind, especially someone as quick as Josh Malin, who has the advantage of that slipstream?
Yeah, super hard. You've got to sort of delegate your time to looking forwards and also looking behind. The more you look behind, the more mistakes you make, and generally slower you are over a lap. And then he'll obviously know that Malin's not really in the championship, Hunt down in 8th. So Malin's probably got that bit more devil-may-care attitude to an overtake, that he might just have to concede the lead to not get taken out, even though it's not his fault. So huge amount of stress as we see McKenna get down the inside. So he's probably in 6th currently, but I don't think he'll be able to keep it, and he may even go back down to 8th now into the chicane. It's kind of NASCAR-style bump drafting down the straight there, as we see. Unfortunately, getting hung out on the outside and back down to 8th. So yeah, like we keep saying, you try and get on the front foot and then suddenly you get kicked in the back and you go back a spot.
And this is why qualifying was so important, and with Scott starting down in 7th position, he was always going to have rather a difficult time, you fear, of getting through this order. He's now right back at the back of the queue again, so he's not under any pressure now. He's free to attack, but as soon as he does start making progress, so it gets harder and harder to maintain that gained ground. So lap number 4 about to be in the books. Conor Grady, by the way, the man that just got back ahead of Scott McKenna, has set the fastest lap in this race at the moment, 1:45.939. It's only a couple of tenths off what they were doing yesterday as well, so that's a pretty decent pace. Further back, Katie Milner has got Lewis Ryder on the grass coming out of the Goddard hairpin. They're side by side here, down towards us at Redgate Corner. Milner, the white and red car on the outside, will go through. And Katie Milner, that means that she is into 12th position. Now, her best finish of the year so far, she has had 4 6th place finishes, and yesterday was down in 11th position. So we sometimes do see a bit more from Katie than this, but she's been a regular in this championship for a few years now, Katie, and she always seems to be there or thereabouts. She's one of the sort of leading female contenders in the category, and she's doing a good job again here, racing her way closer to the front than where she started.
Yeah, definitely. I think the races all look very fair as well from everyone that we've seen so far. And it's just the one-make series nature of it. If she's not maybe testing as much as the other guys, hasn't tested here this year, that'll be a couple of tenths that she'll be off. As we see a couple of cars, looks like they're door handle to door handle pretty well there. But it's all still very clean. I have to say, I'm not sure who the race director is, but they must have instilled a god of fear into everyone, because they're all behaving so. I've never seen a Ginetta race so close, but yet so lack of contact. So I think Lawrence Thompson, owner of Ginetta, won't be particularly happy, because his parts bin isn't going to be filling up quite as quick as he would hope.
Well, you've said it now, though, haven't you? We've still got 6.5 minutes left of this race, and another 15-minute race later on. And of course, as we get deeper into the championship, so the points start to become more important. People get a bit more desperate. For a lot of these drivers, though, racing towards the back end of the top 10, we're watching Gus Bowers here defending busily from the number 24 machine behind. So far, at least, that has been a successful defence. But they're not particularly thinking about the points. They're just after the best results that they can get, and hoping to see those results improve as the season goes on. Well, they're back with our leading group of 8. They're just about still together, but the top 2 have made a small break now. Does this free up Josh Malin to go full on the attack now to get past Nicosia?
Yeah, I definitely think he needs to start lining it up, probably all the way at Coppice onto the back straight, to try and get Nicosia to defend into the chicane, and then look to get a run to Melbourne Hairpin. As you said earlier, I think Melbourne Hairpin's probably the best overtaking spot of Donington anyway, but it also seems to be where Malin's at his strongest. And with the cars having such little power, it's really about momentum, keeping it up. So it really would start at Coppice, the overtake, even though it's 3 corners away from Melbourne Hairpin. So now he'll just be trying to maybe force Nicosia into a little mistake, going a little bit tight, not be able to carry the speed, and then we'll see from there. But the gap looks a bit big. I'm thinking as the race goes on, Nicosia's probably got this. He looks a bit more confident, and the car's coming to him. As we have our first track limit warning, actually. Amazing how well everyone was doing track limit wise. So yeah, halfway through the race, I'm pretty impressed with that.
Just a warning at the moment for Ruben Delsart, so no time penalty, but if he does it again, then 5 seconds will be added to his race time. There is the orange number 55 car running in 6th position at the moment, and as he starts to drive more defensively to keep the very aggressive Conor Grady behind him, so he's losing touch with the cars in front. Is Conor going to have a pop up the inside? I think he thinks about it. In the end, though, the braking capabilities of the cars are equally close, and so there's no real way through. Similarly, Malin, ironically, at the part of the circuit where we said he was quick, dropped back from Nicosia that time, didn't he? And as soon as you lose a car length or so to the car in front, so Gordy Much and Adam Smalley and Danny Harris are right back on his tail.
Yeah, and the slipstream round here is probably worth 8 tenths to a second a lap. So as soon as you drop out that little perfect pocket of air, straight away someone's taking a second away from your lap time. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing with 6th place with Delsart now. He's probably just dropped out of the slipstream fully. So I'd imagine it's now going to be a top 5 fight for the last 3 laps.
Yes, until they start tripping over each other, because then you really do lose momentum. So Delsart may not be out of it, but it does look as though Josh Malin at certain parts of the circuit has something for Nicosia, who has a bit of a twitch down at the bottom of the hill. Just under 4 minutes to go, by the way, so probably 2 or 3 maybe more laps to go. Yesterday we got 8 laps in, and this is the 7th lap of today's race. Josh Malin forcing the race leader to defend, applying the pressure at McLean's corner, but again Gordy Much is taking advantage of this to close in, and now Malin has to watch his mirrors. He doesn't want to watch his mirrors, he wants to focus on what's going on in front of him. Ruben Delsart, who's already being warned for exceeding track limits, runs onto the grass at McLean's, and surprisingly doesn't lose a place. In the end, it's actually Conor Grady who, maybe having lifted off, wondering what Delsart was going to do, loses momentum, and through goes Scott McKenna. Again, Joe, through Coppice, Malin dropping back, so he may be strong at certain parts, but Coppice ain't one of them, is it?
No, I think maybe we saw at McLean's before. I think Nicosia seems to be very race smart there. He realised how close Malin was and just backed him up a little bit, and then lost his momentum. As it was a strange one to run that wide. I guess he probably knew he was running wide and 1 foot of track limits is the same as 8 foot, so you might as well fully commit to it and use and abuse the warnings that you're allowed. But I'd assume he's on his last one. We have a debris or oil flag coming out of Melbourne there, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any change of surface grip here or anything on the track, but they all look okay.
Right, in the pit lane, now is this something to do with maybe that slippery surface flag? That is car number 49, which has made its way into the pit lane, unfortunately. And that car is Abby Pulling. And there's a little bit of damage to the front end there. Maybe that's the bodywork that's on the road. Del Sart and McKenna are side by side as McKenna desperately tries to gain some ground and gain some points here. The wide line into Redgate gives him the tighter line out of it. But now he has to complete the manoeuvre through the Craner curves. Not a part of the circuit that I would fancy driving side by side through. But McKenna has already made it stick. He did that well, didn't he? If you go in on that wide line and get the switch back, it is a popular move here at Donington, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you just be able to get on the throttle that little bit earlier. So that's where the momentum comes from. Whereas the car on the inside's tighter, so the radius of the corner is that much tighter, so he can't carry the speed. So Del Sart's obviously lost 2 places there, and he's on his last lap, all have said track limit stuff, so it's going to be a hard last few laps for him. I think this is probably as good as McKenna's going to get. He's got to hope that something kicks off in front of him now, and he's there to pick up the pieces. So I'd imagine we're going to see him pretty aggressive here for the next few laps and defend for all he's worth for 6th position. Although it's only 6th, championship-wise, that's all he's going to be able to get from this race, I think.
That would earn him 18 points, but his big rival, Nicosia, at the moment is on for 35 points as the race leader. So it goes to show that, you know, one bad result whilst your rival maybe is on form can really affect your championship standings. But Nicosia, I thought, had outbraked himself there. I think he might have done fractionally at the Melbourne hairpin. I guess as long as you hook up that second apex, provided no one sticks their nose up the inside, you can get away with that. But he's pushing on, and he is still feeding the pressure with a lap to go, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he had this a little bit more controlled than that car looked going into the Melbourne hairpin. It was he styled it out because it was a proper 4-wheel drift on the way in, so great car control, and he said he got a good exit, so probably time lost not great, but the risk of keeping the door open was the bigger issue there. If it happened with the gap being this small, I think Malin would have sent it down the inside and hoped for the best. So this will obviously be the last lap. They'll all be looking at their pit boards. They've got no pit car radio in this championship, so it's all visual from the pit crew as we see someone get the old hairpin nice and loose. Does well to not get collected, knock it down a couple of gears and he'll carry on. That's quite a cool trick to show people.
Sidhu then will be showing his friends and family that footage afterwards. Not his finest moment at first with the off, but did well to hang on to it. Oh, Josh Malin did well to hang on to that as well, as he had such a good run out of the old hairpin, but nowhere to go with it, and got very sideways, trying to pull abruptly to the left-hand side, and it loses him momentum and loses him 2nd place. And out of nowhere now, Gordy Much into P2 has not only taken 2nd place away from Josh Malin, but possibly just won Jerry Nicosia this race, because as these two now do battle for the lower steps of the podium, look at the way the race leader has pulled away. Josh Malin was lucky to hang on to that car then, but will he be able to fight back and get this 2nd place away? Again, he could sort of do with it to try and regain some championship points. He's already over 100 points off the championship leader though, and the championship leader is looking good now for his 2nd victory of the year. Yellow flags at the chicane because there's a car in the gravel. That won't affect things too much though, because you can still overtake down at the Melbourne hairpin. 2 more corners to go. Malin round the outside. Behind, Danny Harrison is attacking Adam Smalley for 4th place. It's all come to life here on the final lap. In the end, neither of those moves work. Jerry Nicosia has been able to escape up the road. He heads into Goddard's hairpin for the final time. Gordy Much defending for all he's worth for this 2nd position. Gordy had that win at the start of the year, but hasn't been back on the podium since. He's on the podium today, though, as the victory goes to Jerry Nicosia. A brilliant drive, a great defensive drive that was for Nicosia. Much in 2nd, Malin 3rd. Adam Smalley comes across the line 4th, ahead of Danny Harrison. Scott McKenna 6th, so salvages some points, but not as many as he would have liked. He got past Conor Grady and Ruben Del Sart there towards the end, whilst Will Durdle and Gus Bowers finished 9th and 10th respectively. Matt Maxted just outside the top 10. We're watching some of the runners now towards the back end of the top 20 making their way through, including some of the lead AM contenders, and it's the number 31 car of Dan Morris who is going to take the victory in the AM category here today, and he has not done a full season in the AM class. So championship leader Dale Albert was 3rd in AM. Wesley Pearce, who is 2nd place in the championship, is going to finish 2nd, so he takes a few points out of him here in race number 2. Well, a brilliant race that was. Jerry Nicosia, I called it a great defensive drive, but actually one of the things that made that such a good drive is he didn't really defend all that heavily, did he? He defended when he had to, but not to the point that he was slowing himself down and actually maybe leaving himself more vulnerable to attack.
Yeah, I think he was very undefensive, but not aggressive with his line. But it's more his attitude with slowing the car down in the corner to stop Malin getting a run. So the one I called earlier at McLean's was a very good one that stopped the run. But also, I think that's why Malin might have had that big slide. I think Nicosia saw the run he had on him and just kind of positioned the car where Malin had to lift and just stop that momentum. So I think Nicosia did a great race watching his mirrors for most of it and didn't put a foot wrong. And although not the fastest lap of the race, his overall average was the best, and that's why he's at the front and he's leading the championship. So yeah, great race from Nicosia there.
Fastest lap is worth 1 point, by the way, in this championship, and Josh Malin got that point as well, so that means that he scores 27 points out of that race. So he's definitely moving the right way in the championship now, but it may be too little too late to fight for the title at the end of the year. Jerry Nicosia, though, almost certainly will be, and another race victory, his second win of the season. He has still only missed out on the podium once all year, and that was a disastrous 4th place finish at Silverstone, so he has been Mr. Consistency in 2019 and gets himself another race victory. Gordy Much back on the podium for the 2nd time this year. He's in P2, whilst Josh Malin in 3rd position gets his 2nd podium of the year as well. Adam Smalley is 4th, then Danny Harrison was in 5th position, another solid result for him. Scott McKenna 6th, Conor Grady, Ruben Delsart, Will Durdle and Gus Bowers rounding out the top 10. Matt Maxtad was next, Katie Milner was 12th position, 13th place went the way of Marshall, Ashley Marshall that is, 14th for Dan Morris, he won the AM category with Sami Saralainen, a pro driver, in 15th. Wesley Pearce was 16th overall but 2nd in AM, ahead of number 44, which was Charlie Budd, who had some damage yesterday, recovered well to a top 20 finish today. Then it's David Elsley and Dale Albert, 3rd in the AM class, with Josh Steed rounding out the top 20. Jesse Chamberlain there was the spinner that we had at the chicane. Lewis Ryder retired at some point, not entirely sure why, but he was enjoying that good battle with Katie Milner beforehand, and we saw a couple of others, Abby Pulling, another driver that came into the pit lane to retire. So there we go, a brilliant race that was then for our Ginetta GT5 Challenge, and Jerry Nicosia looking strong here. He hasn't won as many races as some others, but he has had this really, really consistent run. We're about halfway through the season now as well, and he is looking like the man to beat. Well, highlights then of our opening race of the day, the 2nd race of the weekend for the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge, saw Jerry Nicosia from pole position fend off Gordy Much into the 1st corner, and I'd love to say never look back, but actually he spent most of the race watching his mirrors as Josh Malin threw everything at him. Adam Smalley was into 3rd in the early stages, whilst behind Ruben Delsart was getting stuck into the battles. A big sideways moment at the hairpin, then he came under pressure from Conor Grady, ran wide and did well to hang on to the position. On the final lap, Josh Malin had a big go at getting past Jerry Nicosia, saved the slide, but lost 2nd position to Gordy Much, allowing Jerry Nicosia to pull away for the victory. The final race of the weekend coming up later on this afternoon. Be sure to join us then.